So, what an epic race that was. We're going to be looking at, we can see Johnny Elliott there. He's taking all the weights away. Some of them are his, some of them are the tracks. The blocky ones are the tracks and the little thin ones are his. And there's a bit of a chat going on. It's, yeah, there's, well, that's one of the marshals and Johnny Elliott. I think the marshal is kind of commiserating a bit with Johnny Elliott. Looking down now at the people getting into the carts, this was one I read slightly wrong earlier when I was talking about Chris Danes, when I was thinking Ed White. Ed White is definitely in this one. You can see there in the orange and yellow, orange and blue helmet. Ed White, we saw him win very solidly earlier on, but he was really given a tough task by Owen Burton. So Owen Burton now did a really sterling effort to keep Ed White honest, and it's not often that people really keep Ed White honest. He's a very, very fierce competitor, and although, as I keep saying, he's not really the one in the limelight. When everyone talks about potential British champion, the names like Chris Danes come up, Sam Slater, Johnny Elliott, Lewis Manley, the ones who grab the headlines, but often the one doing the work in the background and getting the results is, of course, Ed White, and we're going to see Ed White in this race here. We've had a double winner in Lewis Manley, and Ed White will be looking to make this one a double winner. But up against him, well, let's have a look through. We've got one of our substitutions and replacing who was going to be David Joseph. It's Adrian Zdziuski. Adrian Zdziuski is in place of David Joseph. He's in this one. So Adrian Zdziuski, and he is against Stephen Williams, Christophe Verhoeven, Stephen King, Simon Cleaver, Mariusz Nowicki, who we saw perform very well earlier on, Mateusz Matys, Emile Hollink, Greg Laporte, former world champion, and potentially Britain's best in Ed White. Ed White was, of course, the top Brit last year, overall in the points and in the final. But Lewis Manley is really rejuvenated. He was very strong last year, but racing still ill. This time, he's had 2 wins at 2 races, as we've just seen. So they're heading out now for the start the qualifying. They're on their warm-up lap, and then they begin their qualifier, and then the slow-down lap, and then they get lined up. Well, again, usual lineup of absolute aces. We've in Adrian Zdziuski, we've got somebody who's really been drafted in last minute. Don't know too much about him, but Stephen Williams, a regular, known to those who compete during the year in the Cobb Kart Sport Championships. Christophe Verhoeven, gosh, last year he was 5th place in the world. Somehow only 24th in the British Championship, but that means he's still a semi-finalist. But he was 5th in the world last year, was Christophe Verhoeven. Stephen King in the special BRKC O plate down at South Coast Karting near Bournemouth, South Coast Karting. Stephen King was 3rd, and he's in this race. Simon Cleaver with the Flying Mavericks team. Well, he was 55th 2 years ago. He's been racing in the kart championships over in rugby last year, and Nowicki, well, 2nd in the championship in Poland. Matys, he was the Polish junior champion last year. Emile Hollink, he was 62nd in this last year overall. Greg Laporte, former world champion Greg Laporte, and he's the one crossing the line as I speak. There he is, taking the flag. And Ed White, of course, 3rd in 2015, but was the overall in the British Rental Kart Championship. That's been his best result overall, but he was the top Brit last year, and is going to be a very tough one. But looking at the results now, we've got him in. It's Christophe Verhoeven, who was 5th in the World Championship last year. He's on the pole position by ½ a second from Adrian Zdziuski. Adrian Zdziuski has come through there to 2nd place from Mateusz Matys and from Mariusz Nowicki. Ed White is down in 5th place, and Greg Laporte 6th. Now, these are 2 drivers who are perfectly capable of coming through the order there, but they're going to have the work cut out given who's in front of them. Emile Hollink and Stephen King from Stephen Williams, and Simon Cleaver rounds them out there. There's only just over 1 second first to last, and looking there on screen, that's Christophe Verhoeven. Very, very strong competitor, and one not to be taken lightly. A Belgian driver from Westmalle there, and he has got right behind him Adrian Zdziuski in that kind of light blue coloured helmet. And then you've got Matys behind him, Nowicki, who we saw perform so well earlier on, but got caught out among some back marks. Then it's Ed White. It's that blue and orange helmet towards the right-hand side of the screen is Ed White, and you can just about see the gloves and the blue star suit of Greg Laporte, former world champion, and of course one of the absolute crack Blue Star Racing team members. They've got 2 teams fielded this weekend, have Blue Star. So, well, 2 drivers from the Cleaver race team, that's the Polish team, both from Poland, that's Nowicki and Matys. Poland strongly represented in the championships this year. But here comes Verhoeven. He's leading the way around, and what sort of start is he going to give? It's a good start, but everyone's fast as well. Nobody's really lost any time except near the tail of the field. So into the new section for the first time for this lot under race conditions. It's still Verhoeven with the lead from Zajewski and, of course, Matys. Kind of winding their way through that new bit. Very, very clean, no bumping and boring, no one's really sort of forcing any issue. Down the backstretch, it's Verhoeven with the lead. Verhoeven with the lead into this turn at the end of the backstretch then. Wouldn't call it comfortable lead, but safe enough to avoid any kind of battering from Zajewski. But Matys is the one who's all over the back of Zajewski. Matys could be having something to say about second place fairly soon. We've seen him as quite a fiery driver earlier on. If there's a move to be made, it could be Matys who's making it, but Nowicki wasn't hanging about earlier either. And Ed White is going to have to do something about this lot pretty soon. He's in the right place to do it because he's right on the back of that lead group tail. So there's Ed White, the camera's on him as we go down the backstretch. Nobody getting defensive at all. They're all over to the right, the normal given racing line. When people are getting defensive from that rear view there, you see they're over on the left, and then you can kind of see what they're thinking. But look at this, Verhoeven seems to be pulling away in the lead. He's setting some very fast lap times. He's nearly half a second faster than those pursuing him, led by Zajewski, who was a rather surprised second place, it has to be said, but showing very well indeed. So Verhoeven leads, just a couple of laps in, long way to go yet, but it's a decent enough lead you could hope for Verhoeven. Down the backstretch there, it's all about that second place now. Zajewski, Matys closing on him, and Nowicki and White trying to make something on them as well. So there is Zajewski that we're focusing on. And they head round to the new area there. So there's Verhoeven going out of picture. That's Zajewski with the blue helmet. He's trying to fight off the attention of Mariusz Matys, with Nowicki and White in contention with him. Equally, Laporte and Hollink are kind of close enough this lot. Laporte is definitely closing on Ed White there as they go down the backstretch, bringing himself into contention with this big group headed by Zajewski is Greg Laporte, the former world champion. He's down in 6th place, but it's very close to second really, because you think the real gap from Zajewski as they come through with the blue helmet there to Laporte, who's on the tail of this bit just there. They're just going round through that new bit there. Is very close indeed there. So Laporte, although he's down in 6th, he is in contention in that second place battle. So down the backstretch, Ed White jumps out. That's not really to pass. That looks like defensive against Laporte. So Ed White is feeling some pressure from Greg Laporte, the former world champion now, making his presence felt on one of Britain's top hopes, Ed White. But yeah, there's Ed White looking over his shoulder. That tells you everything you need. And he's actually losing ground as Ed White on Nowicki. Ed White wants to be moving forward, not so much worrying about what's going on behind. It could be argued, but that's easier said than done when it's Greg Laporte who's breathing in your ear. So on to the back straight to go the leaders, and there's Zajewski heading down in that bright blue helmet. He was a last-minute replacement. He wasn't expecting to be in the championship. It was because one of the Scottish drivers, David Joseph, he was unfortunately taken quite ill before the event, and obviously if you're watching, David, we wish you the best, and everyone's hoping you get well soon, but it's opened the door to Zajewski, who's actually running 2nd place and making a good job of it, even though it appears that he's holding up those behind. The question will be, is Verhoeven actually accelerating away in the lead, or is he having Zajewski backing him up a bit for him? Well, Mateusz Matys is going to be thinking now about possibly pitting his way around this problem, is he? No, he's going to stay out. It may well be an option for those others. Someone with a really experienced, strategic racing brain like Greg Laporte will definitely be worth watching in this situation, because Greg Laporte is in 6th, and Greg Laporte will be seriously considering, if he honestly believes he's quicker than the guys in front of him, about pitting himself out of the problem. And never ever before have I had to talk about anyone thinking of pitting themselves out of a problem which involves Ed White. Ed White very fast indeed, just going out of picture now. Ed White, one of Britain's top hopes. There's Zajewski there. He's being really worked over by Matys now. Matys is starting to get pretty racy. It's going to be a question of how late he's going to leave it before he really starts attacking him. Now Matys isn't no idiot. Matys is, you know, he's the Polish junior champion, the indoor junior champion from last year. So very young head, but clearly a old brain, because he's not making any crazy moves. He's not doing anything silly. He's also not wasting a pit stop. There's no point in pitting if Zajewski is not genuinely quicker. Ego's got to go on the shelf in these situations, and if Zajewski, he really knows, is not quicker than he, I'm talking about Matys here, who's second in this group, if he believes that the guy in front looks like he's holding him up, but is actually just sat there in front of him, he's just matching him for speed, there's no point wasting that pit stop, because it may be needed later on to get out of a problem which could be real. Now, there's Zajewski in the blue helmet. He's in second place. He's looking really good there. Mateusz Matys, the Polish junior champion from last year, looking very good in third place overall, but close up behind Matys. And what a lead there by Verhoeven. Verhoeven's long gone, and there is Zajewski. Zajewski round this new revised section here. It's going to be in place for this round of heats and the round of heats that takes us through the evening into tomorrow morning. And Zajewski seems to have a bit of a handle on it. He's dropping back though from Verhoeven. Verhoeven is nearly 4 seconds to the good. Matys though is all over the back of Zajewski. You've got to think that really Matys is probably the better of these two at the moment, but he's not better enough that he's able to pass him. So Matys probably a little bit content to follow for this stage of the race. You know, it is second place he's battling for, so it's a lot better than if he was trying to battle for 8th. If he's battling for 8th, there'd be an urgency to making the moves and getting up the order. As it's second place with Verhoeven doing the disappearing act that he is, you know, second could end up being the best that Matys could hope for, in which case he's wise not to rush this. There's Greg Laporte, 2008 world indoor champion, and into the pits. It is Matys. Matys stopped it to pit his way around Zajewski, and as they come on out, that's Matys. Where's he going to end up? Is he going to have to actually fight his way out? No, he isn't. Now he's got a lot of clear track. This is going to be very interesting. We're going to keep an eye on the lap times of Matys there. Well, it was a good stop there, less than 11 seconds it appears to be, and that's the kind of pit stop he needed to not lose time. Here's Verhoeven over the line. Christophe Verhoeven, one of the best in the world. He was 17th in the world the year before last, and really one of the greatest out there. And last year, in fact, he was 5th. So Christophe Verhoeven was world number 5, really, and he is showing us why that is, because he's pulling away. He's almost 6 seconds in the lead, and that is to Zajewski, who has got a bit of a gap now. So it's probably not that Zajewski's going slowly. He's actually setting the similar sort of times to those behind him, because if it was him going slowly, once Matys had moved out the way, they would fill the gap, and that's not happening. So Zajewski is setting lap times that are relevant to him and those behind. He's not really slow, it's just that the others aren't able to make any inroads. Everyone's going as fast as they can. The one to watch though is Mateusz Matys. He's already up from last place, he's up into 9th. Let's have a little look at his lap times for Matys. Matys's lap times are very fast. He's quicker than all of those in front of him, with the exception of the race leader Verhoeven. So Matys's early pit stop strategy has paid off, and he's just got to chip away at it. It's vital that he's absolutely perfect around the track, Matys, and he needs to be perfect for a long time, and that's the only way he's going to do it. It's going to be done by the 10th per lap here, but if he can do it, it's going to pay off, and he could be looking for a second place and a whole ton of points that comes with that. So, that's Ed White, that's Greg Laporte, one of Britain's top hopes there, in the orange and blue helmet, against a former world champion, the Belgian ace, Greg Laporte. Greg Laporte, expert racing brain, he knows how to strategize this. He's made, you know, almost a lifetime of being good at this indoor karting business. He's, you know, and contact there, and he's made the move on Ed White. That doesn't happen often, and Greg Laporte has done it. It was a bit of a gutsy move and a little bit jerky, and I think there was some contact. He's waving, sorry mate, but obviously he's taken the position, and that's really what counts. So Greg Laporte, he had to get a bit feisty there, but he's made it stick. Now, Greg Laporte, he's one of the organisers of the World Kart Championship, the indoor one, the Kart KWC. and Greg Laporte is now up to 4th place here. This is the sort of form that we expect from Laporte. He's used to running at the front. He's a lead member of that Blue Star team. He's taken Ed White, which not many people do. Ed White, as I've been saying, one of Britain's main hopes. So down the back stretch, it's still Zajewski, it's still Nowicki, and then it's Laporte followed by Ed White. So there's Laporte, 3rd place in this battle, 4th overall. Verhoeven continues in the lead. It's Zajewski with that blue helmet. Here he is. That's the driver in second. It's Adrian Zajewski. He wasn't even supposed to be here. He got a very last-minute call. It was only Friday morning that he was actually confirmed on the entry list, so he wasn't even really expecting to be in the kart this weekend. And now he finds himself second. There he is, Adrian Zajewski. As I say, not expected to even be here, and now he's running 2nd place in a championship heat race. Nowicki there is running 3rd, not really able to make the kind of inroads on Zajewski that you would expect, considering how Matys seemed to be struggling a bit to get past Zajewski. He was completely all over him, but you'd have thought, on the face of it, that as soon as Matys was out of the way, someone would have plugged that gap. That's not what's happened, as Nowicki maintains the kind of gap he had earlier. Zajewski doing really well here in 2nd place, and Matys is probably going to have his work cut out to actually beat him. Let's have a look at the lap times for Matys. Yeah, Matys is still faster than anybody in front of him, with the exceptions of Laporte, who's found some speed, and also the leader, Verhoeven. So Greg Laporte is on a bit of a mission, and Laporte is in 4th, looking to catch 3rd. There's Zajewski. Behind Zajewski, of course, is Nowicki, Mariusz Nowicki. We saw him star earlier on. Now, Nowicki does appear to have made some ground up on Zajewski, and I think he's bringing Greg Laporte with him, because Laporte seems to be making up some time on the pair of them. So Zajewski may be giving a little bit away, or it might just be the area of the track. But certainly Laporte is closing in, and Ed White is not being left behind either. So this battle is still on. It's a bit cat and mouse at the moment, with not anyone really able to make any move on anyone. They're not close enough for that, but they're certainly kind of filling each other out, and definitely on the limit here. This is absolute top-end driving for what each driver is capable of. You know that they'll be doing their formidable best in all cases. Zajewski still holds on to 2nd. He's going to be the first one we see in view. It's that blue helmet. There he is. And that is Nowicki. There we go. So Nowicki now is coming under increased pressure by Greg Laporte. Greg Laporte closing in on Mariusz Nowicki. Mariusz Nowicki 2nd in the Polish Championships last year. He's now got a former world champion breathing down his neck, and yeah, already looking over his shoulder. He's fully aware of Greg Laporte's presence now. Now, what's Laporte going to do here? Is he going to use a pit stop to try and get around these, or is he actually going to try and pass him on merit? He went on merit for his passing move on Ed White, and what's he going to do about Nowicki? Nowicki is certainly going to be a tough nut to crack. Laporte now closer all the time. There's Laporte, almost right on his bum. You can see when the throttle comes on, a lift off there to give some bite to the nose, and then Laporte back on full power, heading towards that final turn. You really see that on the camera there. And already he's starting to look to the side of the Polish vice champion there. Nowicki 2nd in the championship in Poland last year. That wasn't a tough series to be competing in at all, let alone to come 2nd. And world champion Laporte is really making Nowicki work for it. Zajewski has a little bit of breathing space, but I think once Laporte comes past Nowicki, that could change pretty rapidly. So Laporte was right in his bumper last time. Laporte very fast through this section, gets the feel of the kart right, the subtleties of it right. They're both closing by looks of things on Zajewski, but it is all about Laporte on Nowicki at this moment. Verhoeven has checked out. He's almost got enough of a lead to be able to come in the pits and come back out with the lead, which we saw with Lewis Manley. So I don't think Verhoeven's win in this is in any doubt, really. We've got just under 6 minutes to go, but what is in doubt is 2nd place. Although he has a bit of a lead there, Zajewski over Nowicki, it's not looking secure at all. Laporte being the danger man, and look at Laporte. Just watch the footwork and the arm work as these guys make their way through this section. You're looking at some of the best in the world, you really are, and it's coming through on the live stream there. from Formula Fast. And number 11, that one, of course, is Emile Hollink. Now, Emile Hollink is off that battling group that we've seen, but he's not been that far off, kind of jumping up and down in the car to almost relieve some weight for it, to let it to just edge forward maybe that bit faster. A lot of people believe that that sort of thing is by and large mental, but, you know, at this level, whatever works for you, works for you. You know, there's no sort of, you know, you've got to go with what feels right, even if it can't be scientifically proven. Into the pits then, it's Nowicki. So the first one to pit of that main group is Mariusz Nowicki. Now, what's he going to do? It does seem an awful long time. Sometimes it looks worse than it actually is now. Is he going to go before the green comes on? He's feathering that throttle. He's a little bit late getting under full power, maybe, but he is one of the best. So we'll see what the lap time tells us. Oh, the lap time tells us he's lost quite a bit of time, really. Potentially lost, well, the pit stops cost him about maybe 13 seconds. When we consider that an excellent stop is going to lose you 10 seconds. Nowicki might have given something away there, and here comes Laporte. Now, this is what's crucial about Nowicki's stop and Laporte. Will Laporte come out still ahead of Nowicki? He's lost a place to Matys, but Laporte surely is going to be ahead of Nowicki. Yes, comfortably ahead. A great lap there. Laporte losing, just about 11 seconds. So he made up in that pit stop alone 3 seconds on Mariusz Nowicki, and that's why he's running in front. I've just heard that Greg Laporte's been given a penalty, a bad pass. Surely that's to do with Ed White. And yeah, so that must be to do with Ed White. In the pits, it's Sadowski. Sadowski takes his pit stop with only just under 4 minutes to go, and he comes out. And how did that work out? And we think the Laporte bad pass penalty may well be for Ed White. That's so disappointing for Greg Laporte. It's been a bit of a tricky championship so far for him. He's doing all the right things, but it's sort of coming undone a bit for him, but it's been like that for quite a few. We've had a real up and down set of results. So, Ed White is yet to pit, I believe. Everyone else appears to have pitted. Just going to check the screen there. Looking, yeah, it's looking good for everybody, and, well, we'll probably see Ed White in very soon. He's running second. Now, Mateusz Matys, he's there in third place. And it's all a question of if he can translate this into a second. I think Sadowski is definitely going to stay behind Matys. He's got, what, 3 seconds gap now, so Sadowski was slower than Matys. If you remember earlier on in the race, Matys was all over the back of him, pitted to get away from it. It's worked for the young Polish driver, and now he's Ed White in the pits. So this is going to be crucial for Ed White. He's lost second place to Matys. What's going to happen with Sadowski? Sadowski goes through. Now what about Greg Laporte? And Laporte goes through. My goodness me, poor old Ed White, and it wasn't even a bad pit stop. In fact, it was a very good pit stop. He did it in 10 seconds. It was one of the fastest we've seen, but it wasn't quite enough to stay ahead of those who were closing down on him. And so the beneficiaries there, Mateusz Matys, Adrian Sadowski, and Greg Laporte, and they all jump a place. But of course, Greg Laporte is going to be looked at and being given a penalty for a bad pass. I think that was on Ed White earlier on. It was quite robust by any standards, and so we'll see what that actually does to Laporte's overall position. So Ed White there in 5th place, and it's not the sort of position Ed White was looking for, but it is a tough heat this when you look at those in front of him, and it says everything for unknowns like Adrian Sadowski about how well he's doing, considering that he's thrown himself in the mix of that. Christophe Verhoeven, 5th in the world last year. Matys, of course, was the indoor champion, the junior champion in Poland, his native country. Laporte is a former world champion, and Ed White was highest placed British driver in the BRKC last year and in 2015. So he's in exalted company. So he's done very well, Adrian Sadowski. It looks like he's going to be 3rd place in this. We're very near the end now. It's going to be close on time now for the checkered flag. A comfortable victory for Christophe Verhoeven. And I'm sure he's probably starting his last lap. He's crossing the line now. We're looking at Ed White down the back stretch there. Ed White in 5th, but that could easily turn to 4th with the penalty for Greg Laporte. We just need final confirmation on exactly what that does result-wise. So, there is, coming down the back stretch now, there he is, that's the leader, and surely the winner, Christophe Verhoeven. He's through the final area now. He's coming around to complete that. The checker flag has been ready. Here he is. It's Christophe Verhoeven to take the win. A massive win there by Christophe Verhoeven. 5th in the world. rankings, and what a superlative performance there. Mateusz Matys, the junior champion from Poland, cracking second place there. Zajewski, the unknown driver, in third, and former world champion Greg Laporte and great British hope Ed White rounding that in fifth. Now, Mariusz Nowicki, we saw in the mix there, he's ended up in sixth place. Emile Hollink, seventh. Stephen King, it's always going to be a tough heat for Stephen King. Haven't been able to mention him much. He, of course, was third in the Brkc O-Plate event in the summer, so he's no slouch. I mean, that's like third in the final, so this is not someone slow, and yet here he is, 8th place here. And we're going over to Spanners now to catch up with some of the drivers.
Well, an absolutely dominant performance there by Christophe Verhoeven up at the front, just managing to lap Stephen Williams at the end there. So I'm going to ask him, what's it like leading that race by 8 seconds? What are you thinking about? Because I don't think he was challenged or touched at any point in that process. So we're going to go over and see if we can catch a chat with him and make sure that I get used to what suits everyone's wearing, what race suits everyone's wearing. Christopher was in the blue. Interesting to see the gaps early on. This is the first race I've watched, apart from this morning when I watched Bradley Philpott winning that first race, and now he's back in the number 20 kart as well. Christopher, hi, can I get a chat with you? Took me a while to identify you, but that was a dominant victory, 8 seconds ahead. Oh, isn't it? Oh, okay. Help me out, guys. Okay, so while I try and work on my driver identification, you guys might have to bear with me for a second, but a dominant victory by Christophe Verhoeven.
Okay, so what a result there, and some good insights there from Spanners. And he's obviously getting the drivers as they come out. The drivers for the next heat race are getting into the karts, and as we look, it's going to be heat race number 5. So heat 5, round 2, and my goodness, it's another serious set of drivers in this one, as always. Heading the list on this one is series organiser Brad Philpott, and we saw Brad win an earlier heat race. He won the first race actually of the event this morning, seems a while ago now. Brad Philpott there. Ryan Jones, and he's, you know, lining up there. Gosh, he's been doing fine, hasn't he? He's been doing his best. He's in Exalted company here. Mario Blanco Gonzalez, Carl Stevens, Paul Ozan, Jack Bebbington, Marcel Hollink, Logan Sune, one of the Blue Star Racing Team guys, 12th in the championship here last year. Matej Vrana we saw coming in second in an early race, and Sebastian Borek, who's making his debut. Sebastian Borek, he is making his debut in the Brkc, but he is a champion, one of Kovkar's sports champions, and we'll see what he has to offer here. So looking down the lineup there, it's going to be a tough one. You'd always want to fancy Brad Philpott in that. Logan Sune, this could be a chance for him. Matej Vrana, you would never discount him too easily, you know, making returns to racing from years ago, people like Paul Ozan. Generally strong performances possibly throughout all of them. I mean, Marcel Hollink, 29th in the championship last year. So really, you know, quite a strong lot in this one. We'll see what happens when the qualifying gets underway. Just a bit of a hold up at the moment, and then they're going to be sending them out there, so we'll be getting ready for that.